Friends and family, welcome to another live broadcast brought to you by Premier's Turning Point, with your host, Bishop Dr. Uton Lang, and co-host, Overseer Franklin Williamson. We pray and hope that something that is being said today will bless your soul and spirit. Please take a quick moment to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family. Thank you again for joining us. Let's go into our live program.
Blessings, blessings, one and all. This is Bishop Dr. Lang saying a wonderful evening to all. I hope everybody is having a wonderful, joyous time, just spending some time with one another and, letting the Lord lead and letting the Lord guide and letting the Lord bless us. This evening, my co-host will be on pretty shortly, but we're going to go on with the program. We are picking up from last week, where we're dealing again with basically the coronavirus vaccine. It's now that it's apparently going to be available. We want everybody to have all their questions and all the issues about it answered. So we want to make sure that everybody out there is, well tuned in, listening, and you're have a lot of questions. Any questions you have, you can join us, send them to us either on YouTube or make comments there or on Facebook, and we will be more than happy to engage you and be able to answer any questions that you have on that forum. So it's really, really, really very important that you join in with us, share with us, and ask whatever questions that you have. So that is going to be important. We did start last week talking somewhat about the vaccine, its availability, and what it's going to mean for all of us. Just as so, I did promise you last week we will go in more details this week, and so as soon as my polls get on, we'll be more specific in some questions. But I'll take this time just to update you. We understand that especially even in our area, the rates are going up, and the death rate is up, the hospitalization rate is up. And we find that, this is still a very active pandemic. Now that we have a vaccine available, it's still going to be a while before all of us have a chance to get the vaccine if we so desire. As a matter of fact, it's not predicted that the regular population will be actually have this available until about probably in the middle of the year or so. First, they're going to be starting with the first responders, the elderly, mostly those folks in the nursing home, and they're going to be, working on that situation. So before it's going to be regularly available to general population, is going to take a while. So we want everybody to, in the same time, in the meantime, you still need to continue social distancing. You still need to continue wearing your mask, avoiding indoor congregation with a lot of people, unless you can be distancing in a mask. So some, not especially those close quarters, people getting together, families getting together for the various holidays and the parties, got to be very, very careful. We're now seeing somewhat of a surge after the old Thanksgiving era, where people really gathered together and did not really practice the social distancing and stuff as they could. So we want to still encourage everybody to make sure you're doing this. So again, you're listening to Turning Point. Is another episode, and of course, I'm Bishop Dr. Lang. We want you, before we go forward, just to remind everybody to like and to share, both on Facebook and YouTube, so people can join in. And right now, I do want you to, ask any questions that you have, put it on the chat, either on Facebook or on YouTube. You can share, put in your comments, and we'll be more than happy to address them. So, I know there's a lot of false information that is out there about the vaccine, about its manufacturing, and all of that stuff. And I'm sure some of you are hearing it or listening to it. People are coming up with all kinds of scenarios. But you need to understand that the vaccine is going to be available, hopefully to everybody soon. And it's actually from all the studies that they have done, it's relatively safe. We did see some issues with people that may be severely allergic, that you have to be careful. Then, if you do get a vaccine, you may have to be monitored and watched, making sure you don't have an allergic reaction, and then that can be dealt with if there was a reaction. But basically, the people in England who did have allergic reactions have all recovered, and they're doing further studies on that as well. So if you have know for a fact that you have a severe allergic reaction to anything, you may want to be cautious and make sure you're getting it more, in a situation where you can get attention if it's needed. Yeah, all right. And I know everybody is wishing me happy birthday today. I thank you. And I still, however, want to hear from you any questions or any comments that you have regarding the coronavirus pandemic and regarding the vaccine in particular. Or if you have heard any, on some of these stories that are out there and you need some clarification on it, this is what Turning Point is here for. Premier's Turning Point. We're at a definitely a turning point in a lot of situations, and we want to make sure that it is clarified. You have a great understanding, you have the knowledge, so that you can make great decisions. Because I know even some of you listening right now are saying, "Oh, I'm not going to take the vaccine," which I would not advise you to do. I advise you to do it because it's going to be important that you are well covered, right? So I know that's my stand, but I'm going to keep talking about it and sharing, hopefully, so that you all could, have a better understanding, so you can make better choices and you can understand what it is that you need to do. So today is really continuation, and most likely we will continue on next week's program as well, because we want everybody out here to have a totally good understanding of what we're up against and what we're dealing with. And I don't want any one of you to be not protected against the virus when you could have gotten a vaccine when it becomes available. So you do need to understand where you stand with all of this. You need to understand, who you are, get a great understanding of everything, and then you can make a very good education go.
All right, I see that Dr. Ling audio, maybe he's frozen. All right, this is Overseer Pastor Franklin. So glad to have you join us. We are continuing with our second part 2 of the COVID-19 vaccine. As you have heard and learned that the FDA has approved the vaccine from the Pfizer, and now the work begins, logistics, to ensure that the vaccine is deployed to over millions of people. And there are a lot of challenges. And still, we are learning that unless there is 75 to 80% of Americans who have agreed to take the vaccine, then we will not see a change in the behavior. Meaning, if the fear of this vaccine and only half of the Americans take this vaccine, then we're learning that it will have no effect. So I am not here to advocate for the vaccine. I know my doctor will tell you that. But what I want to do, I am the one who will be the antagonist on this call today. Last week, and I thank you for joining, many of you called me after we aired and sent me emails. And I just want to bring that up, and our doctor will come back on. Talked about United Kingdom. And since UK was a week or 2 weeks ahead of United States. Then we have 2 weeks or a week of raw anecdotal data. And I think Dr. Leng mentioned that there are allergic reaction to the vaccine. Welcome back, Bishop. And the allergic reaction is not detrimental, right? It's not detrimental. And as he has said to you, those who were allergic have recovered. Now, the question is, what type of allergen is in this vaccine? So if I know my state, I know I'm allergic to certain kind of medication, should I then make my doctor aware of this? And if so, should I or should I not take this vaccine? So, Dr. Ling, help us to understand if we know what medications or what foods or solutions we are allergic to, how can we cross-reference that with the COVID-19 vaccine? Is there some kind of table? Is there some kind of metric that can guide the layperson, or we must depend on a doctor?
Now, I think they're in the process of working that out. It's not
Okay.
absolutely clear as yet what are the specific allergens. So in the meantime, if you know you have really severe allergies to anything, I would say hold off. It's not that you cannot have it, but make sure that you would probably need to speak with your doctor so that also, and actually they're already changing the protocol too. So even right now, most places, if once you have the shot, especially if you have any allergies, they're going to actually let you wait around for about 15 minutes to make sure that there is no reaction. And of course, the reaction can easily be treated with Benadryl and probably some steroids if needed. So the key point is if you have severe allergies, like you're a person allergic to, like my one daughter who is allergic to nuts, allergic to other things, and would get a severe reaction, I would say those people should just hold off till they clarify it, or you need to be actually in touch with your physician.
All right, good. So that's good to know that. So therefore, those who have high allergens or allergic to medication should not be the first one out the gate, right? We're hearing them that they should wait. So let's talk about the confidence in the vaccine. The efficacy of this vaccine. We learned that FDA has approved the Pfizer, right? And CDC gave the stamp. But we also learned that this was very politically charged. We heard in the press that if the FDA director did not, he would have been fired. So was this really done under duress, or did they go through due process? I don't know if you know the answer to that, Bishop, but it'd be nice to know that the science and the scientists had fidelity in producing this drug, this vaccine.
Definitely. It's really unfortunate that our politicians don't just sit aside and let the science just rule and take care of the thing. This is how this country should be run. This is how this thing should be. So I have to apologize for the politicians, especially our lame duck president, for trying to stir up things. The CDC was going to release it yesterday or by today, regardless of what the president had to say. So I just want to make that clear. And, of course, certain people want credit for whatever is done on their time. And remember, so that's why they have to do certain things to stir things up. Because if you make a promise that something is going to happen by a certain time, you're going to do everything that you can to make it happen for you to look good if your ego is a problem. So that's where I think all of that politics and stuff came in. However, the CDC, followed their rules, followed their chain of command or whatever they had to test, and they gave the approval. So it's not that, the politics kind of got in the way, but it's like the politics did not run the show. And even where the vaccine is concerned, I know a lot of people are saying, well, how come we did this so fast? You have to remember, and I think I mentioned this last week, that they've been working on an mRNA system of, coming with a vaccine for years. It just so happened that this was a prime example for them to try out what they had been studying and what they've been following up. I looked up a few of these timelines. This has been studied for years. All right, and they've been, getting around to being using it. So this kind of pushed them to go ahead and actually do the trials and to develop something and see if it did work.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
Hmm.
So again, there is still a great fear. We have
Yes.
heard that the process now in the list that the mayor and the governor for New York State and let me know what Jersey, they didn't really mention folks who are presently patients in the hospital. They talked about, elderly. They talked about our frontline workers, the nurses, but they didn't mention giving the vaccine to the patients. Did you
Yes.
hear that?
I
And there's
did
a
not
reason.
hear that. I did not hear that. I know in some places. Now, the one reasoning that I think maybe because from the others reading that I've done in studies, they really think even the people who have had the virus should probably still get the vaccine, being
Mm,
that we're not sure how long, that antibody is going to last. However, I think from my thinking, and I think that's why you don't hear more about it, persons who have an active infection, for example, those in the hospital with an active infection, it would not make sense to give that person the vaccine. I mean, if they're there and their infection is gone or they're here for another reason, that may make sense. So I think they have to sort that out a little bit as well too, because at least the people who have an active infection who have been infected recently, they probably have at least from the study so far, we know for about at least 2 months that
mm,
they will have antibodies. So I think, as I was saying last week, I think the pure way to do that is probably to follow everybody with antibody testing and seeing if the antibodies are wearing off or after 2, 3 months is wearing off, then those people would then need to get a vaccine at that time.
all right. I'm glad you used the word follow because
Yeah. Hmm.
I got these questions, right? Now,
Yeah.
there is a large number of people who are undocumented, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And going to take this vaccine, you will be tracked.
Hmm.
And here there is their immigration status will put them in a negative light. So as a
Hmm.
result, they really don't want to be vaccinated. I have not
Yeah.
heard anything about the governor speaking about the privacy and ensuring that the information collected would not be used for no other reason but to ensure. But you know, have you heard anything in New Jersey? Because I'm
No,
definitely
I,
going to
I
raise.
have not. No, so far I haven't heard that. I've been looking and waiting to hear about that as well. I haven't seen any specifics on what it would be. I know in New York actually they're actually a little bit more open to really vaccinate anybody, any comers, and I'm sure
Yeah,
they're going to come up with a system where where they will have some kind of privacy. But I can't tell you today that I know what that is because I don't, and I'm looking and I'm hoping we're going to hear more about that. And I'm
right.
hoping they're going to be able to, make it, confidential, even if they're tracking the where they were not going to use that kind of information, kind of against them. And I think depends also what information they're going to collect, because if all they're collecting is your name and a way to track you, then that won't be that imposing. Versus if they're going to get your name and all your documents and all of that stuff. But I don't think they're going to push it to where they're going to review documents. And as I would hope, and I have a lot more hope with the newer administration coming in, that would not be as big of an issue. So I'm more hopeful now. I won't say I was that hopeful a few months ago, but I'm a lot more hopeful now that this should be able to done and we should be able to offer immunization to everybody that is available.
Yeah, well, I know in New York City, those who are not documented can obtain a New York City ID card, and
Yeah.
I make it a habit to get my COVID test twice a month, and
Yes.
pretty much all they ask you for is a government issued ID to
Yes.
verify your name, verify your date of birth, and that's it. And that's it. So I want to encourage New York City residents, for those who have the New York City ID, to get tested. They didn't
Yep.
ask me for my social, date of birth, whatever was on my driver's license. Now
Hmm.
they ask for medical history. What's the
Yep.
reason for the medical history there, Dr. Ling? A little bit
Well,
the
well, the
medical history.
medical history is remember, they want to maybe see who are probably actually at a higher risk, because
Okay.
if you're diabetic, you have heart disease, you're probably at a higher risk, and then they're probably going to recommend that you should probably be one of the earlier ones to get a vaccine too. When
Okay.
they start, going down the list of, who should, when, where, why, because remember, people with underlying conditions, preconditions are more prone to get a more severe form. So if you're diabetic, heart disease, maybe lung, especially lung problems, then actually that's something worthwhile that should be known.
All right. Can you talk about the booster shot? Because we're hearing that there is
Yeah.
a need for a booster shot.
Yes, from the studies, what they did is, they
Yes.
did do so they do one shot, and then what they do, from that, the people from the one shot, they see how efficacious it was. And actually, from the studies I saw, that after the one shot, you're only about 62%,
Mm.
protected, and so therefore it needed a second one for the body to develop more antibodies to then bring you up to a level about 95%. So, and actually, if you remember, this is a very not an uncommon thing. For example, hepatitis B is a 3-shot series,
Hmm.
even our recurrent, things that you have now. So it's a matter of, how much immunity you're building up based on, the amount of antigen or foreign body that you're exposed to. So I think it's that's from that studies what was deemed necessary. I mean, there's some immunizations that are one shot because they're very immunogenic, but from the studies they have to base it on that to see if a second one was needed, and it is at least for the Pfizer one and also for the Moderna one. So far, those are 2 shots.
Right.
I think it's
Okay.
21 days apart. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So 3 weeks apart. Okay. You
Yes.
mentioned last week that we'll have some statistics. Do you have those statistics you
Yes.
want to share
Yeah,
today?
actually, I had something a little bit more pressing this week that I wanted to share first,
Okay.
and then
Fine. Fine.
then because we're probably going to be on this for a while, and actually, I don't know, there's a couple of videos going around that is
Yeah.
claiming all kinds of stuff. All right, and I think I really wanted to address one of them in particularly because it was it was talking about all kinds of things, nanoparticles and all kinds of stuff that that they're trying to do to you. And I really want everybody to get the full knowledge. For example, the biggest one that is really because especially as Christians, I'm not
Yes.
sure if you've heard about the thing about there's about this microchip and the 666.
Yes. I've
Have
seen
you?
that footnote.
All right, you've seen that. So Microsoft does own a patent. All right, but it's like the actual patent number that they own. So this was a group. This is one called Snoops. I don't know if you've heard of Snoops. They actually research everything to see what is false, what is not true. Right. So
Yes.
from there, this notion then that Microsoft owns a 666 patent, which involves inserting microchips into people to mine their activity for cryptocurrency purposes, they say
Mm.
that is mostly false. All right. What is true is Microsoft published a patent for a cryptocurrency current system using body activity. This is filed under the number WO2020060660A1. All right. And so that is true. But what is false is the number contains 3 sixes, but it's obviously not the same as 666. And
Mm.
this actually focuses, I gave you what the number was before. And the
Yes.
other things that are important to understand is that the this whole thing and all these conspiracy theories that are out there are not true because, as a matter of fact, if you research that patent further research of the patent shows you that the actually patent that they have, it's not for a chip, but it's for a pattern that will cover the information, whether it's from a smartwatch, any of the other electronic device. So basically, the text of the patent further explains that the user device in the diagram may include wearables such as
Mm-hmm.
smartwatch, cell phone, laptop, or tablets.
Fitbit. Yes,
All
or
right, so you
Fitbit.
don't have to worry about a chip. If you have any of those things that are used, that's the patent for this system they have down the road will be able to gather information from that. But nothing in the patent, if you go to the patent office and look it up, nothing in it actually talks about a chip. All right, so that's one thing. And it provides two options for the sensor. First, the sensor could be incorporated in one of the aforementioned devices, such as a smartphone. And it also may be, they may actually make their own sensor that will be able to pick up this information. And it's really, and so people will take things and kind of slant it to meet their conspiracy theory. And so what about the claim that the world order patent 666, as we noted, the patent has WO and then all the numbers I told you. Furthermore, the W at the start of the patent does not stand for world order. It is a shorthand for WIPO, which is the
Mm-hmm.
World Intellectual Property Organizations, which
Right.
issues this patent. And the
Exactly.
A1 at the end of the patent signifies that this is only a published patent. That means it is not actually signed for yet. And so the kind code B1 is applied to granted patents. So it's actually an applied for patent, and it does for what I said. So do you understand, from what you see people are saying and all of the stuff that they're talking about, if you follow everything, that's why I was explaining the last week. We have to go deep into anything. Don't just take something because somebody tells you that's what it is. All right. But you need to go look then for the information. And I really needed to bring this one out this week because somebody, I was on another meeting today. And of course, they showed, I don't know, there's a Caucasian doctor who's an OBGYN, and she's telling you, this is about the conspiracy, the 666, the patent, and they're going to insert microchips into you and all of that stuff, which is not true. It's not true. I'm not saying they're not developing a microchip. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying where the vaccine is concerned, that is not true. And, and of course, I said, well, Bill Gates is spending so much money. Yes, he is, because he's looking ahead. He's trying to remember all these businessmen are looking to see how they're going to benefit from this pandemic. Don't think they're sitting around, saying, okay, I just want to cure. No, they want to see how they're going to benefit. And actually, cryptocurrency is coming. I mean, it is coming. And,
Yes.
so you see how they kind of put it all together, though, and start all these conspiracies, and then get you not to be vaccinated. So that one, I don't know if anybody out there have heard about it or have any other question about it. But I think it's an important one to be aware of, and what's going on, and so that you can be well educated. All right. So that was
There's a
one I
question.
wanted to bring up and say. Mhm.
There's a question that came in. Before you respond to that question, uh, another myth, and let me know if it's a myth, but this is also not just the vaccine, but folks are also fearful of having the COVID test. We are hearing that when that Q-tip like instrument is actually swabbed in the nose,
Yeah.
you're actually getting vaccinated. I don't know, but that's also going
I
on.
heard that one too. That's totally false. It's basically you're getting a dry, sterile Q-tip, and as a matter of fact, remember now, they have even developed a test that is just using the sputum, where you don't actually have to have a Q-tip. All right, so they're working on that one where you just put some sputum in a container, and they're doing that.
Right.
So there's other ways to doing it. So people are just trying to to come up with these theories. I don't know where they get some of this stuff from, but they're making it up as they go along, and they're trying to just put that scare factor All right. And trust me, those same people who are spitting out those tears, they're probably behind the scene getting their shots. Same. Look at this other scenario. Look at it. We have some people saying the COVID virus is not real, it's around the corner. They get it. But because they're in certain level, they get all the best treatment. So they're
They get the
spreading it to
cocktail.
everybody. They're
They get
spreading
the
it to
cocktail.
everybody. They get the cocktail. They get the best treatment. In 2 days you see them bouncing around, and then but 3,200 people died yesterday. Okay, 3,000.
Yeah.
I'm not talking 300 people. Now we don't talking hundreds now of the deaths. I'm talking about the deaths. 3,000 plus people have died in the U.S. every day for the last few days.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So those people who are telling you don't do this, don't do that, they're in the hospital. When they get sick, they're getting the best treatment. They're not on the vent. All right. They're not, can't breathe. I mean, you should hear the stories from the
They-
nurses and the doctors.
looking
It's
at their
painful.
insurance card.
Mhm.
They're not looking
Yep.
at their insurance card to see if they can afford the care. They're getting
Yes.
the maximum care known to
Yes.
humanity.
They don't have to worry about getting that care. It's gone. And actually, for example, Mr. Giuliani was sick. The president called in his favors and got him the treatment.
Yes.
Yes.
Get him the cocktail that
So
he was
that's why
getting.
you see him bouncing around. Even though he went and spread it, how many people he infected, and some of them probably can't get the care, and some of them will die.
Yes.
And so that's why I
Sadly.
want everybody to think, be serious about your thinking. And if you're concerned about something, you know what you can do. I dare anybody to go get a bunch of those swabs and test them for the virus and come back and tell me that they see any virus particles there. I will
Absolutely.
challenge anybody for that. But see,
Yes.
people can say talk is cheap. All right. You can say anything you want to say. And actually in America, because of this freedom of speech, you can tell any lie you want. But
Yes.
guess what? We know who is above, who is looking down, and will judge you. So those
Yeah.
people, some of them can't even sleep at night because they so lie. They just spill the stuff out, and then they just giving out that false information. So we need to know what we're dealing with. Mm-hmm.
Sure. There's some questions there that came in. Could you read those
Yeah.
on the
Okay.
chat?
Let's see. Okay, I
Yes.
see a happy birthday. Let's pass the happy birthdays. Okay,
Yes.
right. Someone was made a comment that this is right. So many people think there is something suspicious because the vaccine was created quickly. But however, as I had mentioned earlier, this is
It
an
wasn't.
evolving science.
Yeah.
Is an
Let me
evolving science.
let me address that. It
Yeah.
wasn't created quickly.
Mm-hmm.
In the lab, they have been researching the E. coli and also the SARS. What has happened is because of this pandemic, the funding was now shifted and make it a priority. So something that normally takes months, years because of the funding, they remove the element of money. So having all the resources available to you was able to accelerate the process. So don't let that be the factor that you negate the need for the vaccine. Yes, it seems quick, but it wasn't quick. The Bible said money answered all things, right?
You got it.
So
And
they
Pfizer.
Yes.
And Pfizer actually pulled out their own money, and they actually did their own research. The only good thing, but they know they guaranteed the orders that they were going to
Yes.
get. But even though,
Absolutely.
but also they weren't going to get paid if the vaccine wasn't effective. So they did their research. They did the thing that they needed to do. And I think that's what we need to look at. And instead of us, here squabbling over this, let's get the enough testings available. Let's get this stuff available, because even now, we've had all this. We're a year now, and some people can't get tested.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's more the problem. You can't get tested if you want, while some people are getting tested every day, and then some
Right.
cannot get tested. Then the treatment, and then of course, if you get sick, there's treatment. Why don't we make that available to everybody? Why is
Yes.
this the upper echelon is going to get that treatment? So those are more the issues that I see. So stop squabbling about, whether you should be tested. Everybody should get tested. And once the vaccine is available to everyone, I am recommending everybody get the vaccine. If you have a reason, you talk to your doctor. If you are concerned about allergies, you speak with your doctor. you get pre-treated, you get treated. There's things to do, because once we can get up about 70% of the people immunized, then we can start seeing us going back to more of a normal kind of routine. All right, but until then,
So,
it's not going to happen.
so
Now,
Dr. Lang,
so
let me
yeah,
ask
one
you
second.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, let me ask you
Go ahead.
this. Regard to the vaccine, uh, do we know how long will this inoculation last? Because we have learned that you can have the virus and still get infected again. Is that the same with the vaccine?
I am going to
How?
think that we're not sure how long, so more studies. So for right now, I think they've studied people 2 months out, and they are still
Right.
going to keep them. Now, remember, all the people in these studies are going to be followed for 2 years.
Okay.
All right. So I would say you can ask me that question next year. Okay. Because
Absolutely.
they will be studying, following them, regular follow up for 2 years. All right. To really answer some of those questions. Then we will kind of know, is this more a long term immunity? That is. I think a lot of times, though, when they do with the vaccinations, you usually get a longer term immunity, unless away from those ones where even the disease you get it and you have immunity for life. But more like mumps, measles, those seem to last a long time. But each one is different. So, for example, the tetanus, even that the tetanus, most of you adults don't realize it. You need a tetanus shot every 10 years,
Mm.
because it actually wears off. So something simple as that. So, and while in other ones you can get one shot and you'll be over. So I think it's going to, with this particular virus, it's still so new, with learning more. So in the next year to 2 years, we'll have a better way of answering that question to know if we're going to be immune for life or not. All right,
So,
let's just
so
address. Go ahead.
yeah, if you have the COVID, you're active with the COVID. Should you get the vaccine?
There is a school of thought that says yes, you should still get it to develop even more antibodies. However, I think because of the limited supply, I think they're going to probably, I think they're going to hold off on those people until we kind of get everybody caught up. All right, that's what I think is going to happen. However, I think it's not a bad idea to still get the thing, because all you're going to do is be making more antibodies, and hopefully getting a better boost in your immune. Yeah, but
Okay.
I think they're going to probably hold off on those, because at least they have a level of protection. We don't know how long that's going to last, but they do have a level of protection. hmm
Now,
All
did
right.
you do anything on being pregnant? Does it affect
They're still doing the studies. So the
feeling?
pregnant and the younger children, they're studying it a
Right.
little bit more. hmm Yes.
We
Okay.
got to
We
wait
got to
and see.
wait on those. Yeah. Now,
Okay.
someone said, they really going to require you to show proof of COVID vaccination before you fly? I think my gut I think some countries are gonna request that. And I think, it's as time you're going to see countries coming up with their rules that, for people to come, they're going to have to show proof of this or this, that they've been vaccinated or that they had the infection. I really think it's going to come to that. I don't think the U.S. is going to say, bam, it is a rule that to fly, you're going to have this. But it's not just the U.S. Remember, we're part of the world. And,
Yes.
so we're going to have to see what other each country probably is going to have some rule, and I think, it's going to head there, which is actually, when you think about it, it's not a horrible idea, in my opinion, but that's my opinion, being that I think everybody should get protected. It's just kind of like the measles, I think, remember, we have totally almost eradicated that, but all of a sudden we're seeing some hot spots here and there because people are refusing to be immunized. So, for example, if you're immigrating to this country right now, if you're trying to get your green card, you have to show proof of MMR, varicella, right? And you have to have a current tetanus shot. If it's flu season, you have to have a flu shot. So there is, so people, it's summertime, we don't realize it, but there's a lot of rules already in place. So of
Yeah.
course, that is going to be one of the things that you're going to have to be shown that you're immune to if you're going to get a green card in the US. Because already you have to show measles, mumps, rubella, You have to not have syphilis. You have to have not have an STD, and you
Right.
have to, or if you have to get treated, or you have to have it. So there, I can see it happening because and a lot of countries are going to say, if you're coming here, show me your COVID vaccination report. Hmm.
And does this, I don't know this, but does this affect the blood donation process?
No,
Are they looking for folks who had COVID? Is that a blood that they would like to gain more
they
of?
would
Or
probably they'd like to have that because they're doing some studies on using the convalescent serum to
okay,
see if that would then can shorten the course. So the person who I have, I'm sure there's now study groups out there that are still studying that. So and that was maybe one form of treatment that they were thinking of doing to getting the serum from those people and then try to isolate out the antibodies and then give that to people. Hmm. So that's still probably in progress of study. But if you're donating blood, that would not affect you because remember, if you have COVID, you're not going to see COVID in your blood. You're going to see the antibodies, which would not be a bad thing. So that wouldn't negate blood donation.
all right. Let me just read this that just came out from the CDC website.
Yeah.
It says FDA grants emergency use authorization of the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. And FDA's, or Food and Drug Association, issued an emergency authorization. And COVID-19 vaccine in person age 16 and older for the protection of COVID-19. It says there are 8 things to know. 1, the safety of the COVID-19 vaccine is a top priority. And you learned about what temperatures it needs to be and how long can it be outside of the tube and so on. Second, many vaccines are developed and tested, but some might be ready before others. So CDC is planning for many possibilities. Third, at least at first, the COVID-19 vaccine might be used under emergency use for the Food and Drug Administration. And fourthly, they said there will be a limited supply. So therefore, not everyone can go up and receive that based upon your job, based upon the classification. You will be able to gain access to the vaccine in December, but they are ramping up supplies. Fifth, because the supplies are limited, some groups are recommended to get it first. All right. And there's a whole list of the groups that are recommended for this vaccination. One of the high groups are long-term care facility. So if you got a family member that's in a long-term care facility, and as you can recall, those facilities were hit the hardest. So they're making that a priority. Sixth, it said at first, COVID-19 may not be available for children. So children 16 and under, your trials are not yet. They're still working on that. So it's good to know that our children 16 and under, not the first out the gate. Seventh, the cost will not be an obstacle. So the insurance company should not ask you for your insurance card if you are getting immunized with the COVID-19 vaccine. And finally, COVID-19 vaccine planning is being updated and new information is coming available. So I would say keep yourself abreast. What was news 2 days ago is now history. So be careful of the myths. Be careful of all what you see in social media going around. It's the mark of the beast. The doctors from UK, vet the information. Vet the information. Look at the source. There's some folks who are being paid to bring this propaganda out. There's some folks that just want to get a high spike in social media so they can launch their platform. So let us not murky the water. Let's not play with the lives of people. But I am so thankful and grateful for this platform because we are bringing you the most accurate data to date. Anything else there, Dr. Lane?
Yes, yes. I think one person online was saying if we have a treatment, why not just give it to everybody? And that goes back again to we're in
Okay.
a capitalistic country, and money talks. I hate to say it, but that's the way it is. And so when a treatment that is expensive, you think, everybody who are dying, because, think about it. Right now we're losing 3,000 plus people a day, but the president, his henchmen, and all of his people, they just get a little sick. They're not even not on a vent yet, but they're getting the best treatment without we're not even giving to all of these people who are dying
All
because we don't
lives,
have enough to go ahead.
all lives are not equal.
Right. Then here we go. Then forget Black lives. No, nobody's life will matter unless you're the president right now. So we need to realize that there's a big disparity in this country still. When it comes down to it, if you don't have insurance, you can't get certain care, and most of us can't afford insurance. I mean, I'm telling you, it is. And this is, we'll get to that part of our program in down the weeks. But this is the dilemma in America: health insurance. It's a major crisis. And I'm telling you, on both sides of the politicians are not talking about it enough. They have
Yes.
to work on tort reform, getting some of these lawsuits under control. They have to work
Yep.
on these insurance companies who are just packing their pockets. They have to work
Malpractice.
on the reimbursement for doctor. All of this had to be worked out. And then, in my opinion, we need some form of socialist medicine, some form. I'm not saying that would be the end all, but we need
Right.
something that we can level the playing field for everybody. And then, those who have it can always get their additional, but we need a basic level of care that everybody can expect that they're going to receive when they're not well. Because, you shouldn't have to worry about paying your medical bills and eating food. Is really not right. So I think these are the stuff that we know when the war and the fight even in this country is not over, because have to make sure that everybody is taken care of, and it's not happening. I'm telling you, it's not happening. I'm on the front lines. I see people who work, all their life. A lot of with the financial situation in the country, a lot of the jobs won't be able to offer insurances anymore. A lot of people you'll have a job, but you won't have insurance. And so therefore, and then they're trying to, until we reform this, they're trying to drop people off of Medicaid, so you don't even have Medicaid to look to. So what are we going to do? We're going to just die? So I really think it's something that you also need to be talking to your Congress people, talking to your senators, your local, politicians. You need to make your voice heard, and we have to push so that they know what is our concern and ask them, what are you doing about it? Because
Yeah.
they hold the power, so we need to hold them to the fire. All right.
Yeah.
Any
And
other
just to
questions? Hmm.
Well, just to give some information, and then I'll come with a question. The groups that are being studied for this virus are the health care personnel and essential workers. That's one of the main groups. The second group are older adults living in nursing homes. So these are some discussions need to have. And there's a concern if, husband and wife, let's say the wife is the healthcare personnel and is essential worker, and the husband is not. Do we then just vaccinate just the wife and not the family? So there's a discussion on that, Bishop. Next
Yeah.
are those who are underlying medical conditions, racial and ethnic minority groups. So that is also a area and a category, a group that they're focusing on. But what I have heard is that the racial and ethnic minority groups have been the least uh, sample set in
Hmm.
this test. And as a result, there
Well,
goes
just stop you there,
prevention.
though. Let's stop you there. They
Go
did, I
ahead.
did, and I will have the final statistics next week. But from the one study, I think it was the Pfizer study, the percentages of African Americans, percentages was represented as to about the percentages in the country. All right. But I'm gonna that's what I'm working, give you the fine-tuned details for next week. Is say that study there was what, say 2,000 what people, what percentage were African American, and how does
Good.
that reflect percentage in the country? So which is what I think they were trying, and they did try their best, just so you know, to have all groups represented, to that stuff. Yes, it's a
And I,
smaller number because the
yeah,
percentage is smaller. But
right.
the other point is though, they're focusing on that group because even though they were a smaller percentage of the overall population, the rate was higher and the death rate was much higher. So I think that's one of the reasons that group is making it up to a higher level in terms of priority. And the people, if you're doing this right, of course, you're going to prioritize based on all of the information that you have. And so it's going to be important to see how each state rolls this out, because I think they're given to the state by right from what they have now. They have 100 million for the Pfizer, and that's going to go by percentage to each state. That's how they're breaking it up initially. So then each state now going to have to see. Then trust me, they don't even have enough. That is not enough just for the frontline workers. It's not,
Right,
and
right,
the
right.
higher risk group. So it's a step by step process, a day by day process to see how they're gonna keep tabs and keep rolling it out. Hmm.
All right. And are they saying once you're vaccinated, you can remove your mask?
No,
Is that,
no, no. They're not going to say that, because what we need then is we need everybody to be protected. And remember, say for example, I'm give you a scenario that
yes.
you have the virus. All right, we didn't even know you have it, right? Or say you got vaccinated today and tomorrow you're actually the vaccine is not going to stop an infection that was already in progress.
Mm,
You understand that? So, say
right.
for example, I had a couple that came to me, and we tested all the family. One person came back positive. They went home, and one of the other family members, that person had no symptoms. Another
Right.
family member didn't feel so good. I retested them 3 days later, and she's positive.
Mm,
Okay, so look at that scenario now. That person who even today I test you negative, you're going to develop it. So 3 days later, you're positive. Even if I give you the shot today, that shot is not going to prevent what is already in process. So
right.
therefore,
Right.
you're going to still be infected, even though you just got a shot.
Right.
All right.
Right. So
So there's
that,
still so many unknowns and so much, incubation periods. So in which case we're still going to have to be very careful, until we have that 70% or more of people immunized. I don't think we can say anything about not wearing a mask till then. And this is
so
why I
so
think
so Bishop on,
Biden is kind of asking everybody for the next 100 days just to wear your mask, and then
so
hopefully by then we'll have them immunized. Yeah. Mhm.
on the spiritual side, I mean, do we pray this away? I mean, uh, do we take the vaccine and pray? I mean,
I
we
think
do have
on the spiritual side, well, all right. Remember now, if when a vaccine becomes available, I still have to say the Lord had something to do with that for it to be available. So He made
mhm,
that available. So you take the vaccine and you keep on praying. You're also praying for those people who are going to get sick, those people who are sick right now, and those people who were exposed yesterday and didn't know it. We still pray for God's protection. I mean, as I said, in my own family, I had one sister that I lost, but there's a bunch of other people who were infected that made it through, including my 90-plus-year-old mother-in-law who was infected and made it through. And I think prayer helped in that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
You know?
And so definitely the healthcare in America needs to be revamped, uh, reformed, and other countries are doing a much better job. Some are doing worse job, but
Hmm.
just want to encourage, still do the core four, right? Still do the core four, right?
Hmm.
On that mask properly, cover the
Hmm.
nose and the mouth. Wash your hands often.
Hmm.
Practice social distancing and minimize the large crowd gathering. And if we
Hmm.
do that, we'll definitely lower the spread. As you may have
Yeah.
heard, Dr. Ling, that effective tomorrow, New York City is going back to shutting down indoor dining in restaurants
Hmm.
because the rate of the hospitals, it's very high. So
And
indoor
then
dining tomorrow. Yep.
and you could see why indoor dining is a problem, by the way, just so people understand. And then, I know we are saying, oh, the governor's doing this, shutting down my livelihood. You have to take off your mask to eat. You have,
That,
yeah, I don't see they haven't made any masks that you eat through anymore. So yet, but you got to take it off. So if you have your mask, and trust me, you have your mask off, and actually rarely do you go out to eat just with your family. You have somebody else over there, then you're all eating, talking, and that virus is gone to town. He's just, having a party. You're
yeah,
eating and the virus is having a party.
eating without the mask is one of the variables, but I think the bigger variable is, and you say this before, it's the
Yes.
ventilation system.
Yes,
Most,
definitely.
most places have a blower, and it's
Yeah.
just blowing the air. It doesn't
Right
have the
around.
circulation where it has a full central air unit where
Yeah.
it's
So
removing and
removing.
extracting. Exactly. So
Yeah.
most of those restaurants don't really have the elaborate central air
Hmm.
system.
Yeah.
So and now it's cold months,
Yeah.
so really can't sit outside unless
Yeah.
they get the furnace going, right? Invest some more
Yeah.
money, get the furnace, get the fireplace going,
Yeah.
and really, look at the outdoor dining
Yeah.
and make it a big piece of their business.
Yeah, and
All right,
one person online pointed out something very important. We're actually
sure.
seeing less flu this year, and we think why? Because people are wearing masks. Look at that. So
Yep.
even that's what they're equating it to. We're actually seeing less flu this year,
Well,
and
and
they're really
also
think,
we're washing
mhm.
our hands. We're not touching our
Yeah. So
face,
we're
right?
we're doing more of the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah. So that
so there you go. So there you go.
hygiene. Yeah, the personal
Hmm.
hygiene. We're based on that,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
also
Yes. So,
our neighborhoods are cleaner, right?
yep.
Our,
Yes.
our neighborhoods are cleaner. The commonly
Yep.
touched frequent areas, we're sanitizing them. And that's so
Hmm.
the flu spread anyway. So you're absolutely right. So there's a trade-off, right? There
Hmm.
is a trade-off. There is a
Yep.
trade-off.
Yep. So I think, we all right, does COVID thrive in hot or cold? I think from the studies, it seems to like more like an ambient temperature, I think. I don't think it likes either hot or cold. Like on the hotter countries overall are doing better, and
Yes,
the
yes,
colder ones, I think that's left to be seen. But I think the issue with the cold is more people are, gathering on the inside. More people are, locked in even together. So that's why I think we're seeing a little bit more spread in the cold time. Not that it likes the cold, but that,
right.
that the situation deals with that. And actually we're more congregating and that. And actually you've seen that all of the places where they have these big parties, like at the White House, there's a big spread of the virus. Mhm. All right,
Now,
Bishop, any last words?
yes, yes. My final words. I do hope that our session is being very informative. And this is definitely a discussion to be at the family table.
Hmm.
Uh, we really want to, as much as possible, get back to some normalcy. And here, thanks to the warp speed and all the funding that the federal government, along with Pfizer and the pharmaceuticals company, has put together to bring this to bear. Some want to ask the question, how come we can't get AIDS, a vaccine for AIDS? Well, it's a different type of disease. And even as novel as this is, we're now 1 year almost. So it's not really novel again. So please do the top four. And I think if your family member falls in one of those categories and is able to get the vaccine, don't be fearful. Just do and follow the guidelines of your doctor. And I guarantee you'll be safe.
Yep.
God
And
bless you.
then to corollary with that is, remember now, we are in this world. We may be Christians, those of us who are, but
Yeah.
we are living in this world. We're part of it. You got to get off of your duff and start talking to your congressmen, your local people. Let them know what a problem healthcare is. This virus has also showed us the
Yes.
disparity in healthcare. It has showed
Abs-
us the needs that we have to make some major moves. So therefore, we need to step up and start talking about it and make sure this is a part of, these congressmen. We can't just be paying them to do nothing. They need to know what we need to be done. So remember, tune back in next week. We will continue on the topic. I
So
will talk a little bit in detail next week about the mRNA and how it works, how they actually make it, when it goes in the body, what's happened. All right. And just so you know, it does not change your DNA. All right. Just think about that. And then we'll talk next week about that specific part of it. And we will just go over more details with some more statistics and just to give you all the information that you need. So God
and happy
bless you. A
birthday,
wonderful.
sir. Happy birthday.
Well, thank
I
you,
want to
sir.
say
Thank
and
you.
thank
Yeah.
God that He has given you another year. So
Amen.
God bless.
Amen. I was just on another program and they're like, it's your birthday. What are you doing? Well, God takes priority over birthdays, So I think if you think you're doing God's work, do it, even if it's your birthday. All right. But God bless you all. I thank you. Thank you for all the wishes. My phone is
Yeah,
just blowing up. Everything is blowing up, but God is good.
yeah,
And I thank you all. Blessings, blessings, blessings.
bless.
God bless you.
Turning Point family, what an awesome time we just had. To all our first time guests, we truly appreciate you for joining our live broadcast. We would like to hear from you, so please send us your comments, questions, or testimonies of how this program has impacted your life. Our email address is info@pflmi.org. Finally, if you feel led at any time to give to this ministry, please visit us at pflmi.org and click on the tab for donations. You can also give via Cash App at $PFLMIORG. We're looking forward to meeting with you live on next week's program. Have a blessed and prosperous weekend.